So you want a high damage chain blade build using the new impulse cell. I got you guys covered in this video. Now we've already posted a repeater build using impulse cells, and I took that as a basis for this build, but we made a couple modifications. We dropped Molten from this build, and obviously we had to get rid of that +6 recycle because that's just not an effective playstyle for chain blades. But let's jump down to Dauntless and check out this build. Now for the weapon, we're using the Night Terrors. We're going to put a +3 pulse cell on there and a +3 catalyst cell. Now I do want to keep something in mind here. That +3 pulse cell, I would personally change that out to a +3 aesthetic cell if you're in hunting grounds, just so your wound time is a lot faster, because this is going to be a wound focused build in some regards. You're going to be using wounds to activate Relentless to get your 30% movement speed from that. Now for the special, we're going to go with Reaper's Dance, and for the mod, we're going with Serrated Blades. Your bladed attacks have a chance of causing your next 4 lacerated attacks to deal extra wound damage. For the bond, we are going with the Eyes of Night. This is going to give us +3 cunning, and when we're low on health, below 20%, we're getting 50% extra damage, and because we're using Revenant with this build, we're going to be activating that quite frequently. For the Omni Cell, like I just said, we are going with the Revenant Cell. Now, this is going to give you a stacking 4% damage buff for every one of these orbs you get. It's also going to give you a passive 2% lifesteal when you're not under the effects of Revenant. If you're unfamiliar with Revenant, let me know in the comment section down below, and we'll get a video up talking about all the different Omni cells and effective ways to play them. For the Lantern, we're going with Skarn's Defiance, and we're going to put a +3 Catalyst cell in there. Now, if you want to run this build without using Catalyst, just switch out the Catalyst cells in this build for Etheric Attunement cells, and it gets you 95%, 90%. Let's be realistic, more like 90% of the way there. You're not getting the attack speed and the damage bonus, but you're still getting the recharge time on the Lantern, and we're using Skarn's Defiance to make us a little less squishy. For the helmet, we're going with the Timeweaver's helmet. This gives us +3 Predator, and we're going to put one of the +3 Impulse cells in there. Now, if you guys don't have the Timeweaver set unlocked, I do have a video up on the channel on how to unlock the Timeweaver set. I definitely recommend checking out that video if you don't have it already unlocked. It's going to be in a lot of my recent build guides because that set really helps work out builds using Impulse, Recycle, and some of the other new cells to the game, because there's so many powerful finesse cells in the game right now, and this set is a very finesse heavy armor set, and it really helps with that without getting a bunch of stats you don't want on your gear. For the chest, we're going with Thrax's Shadow. This is going to give us +3 cunning, and we're going to put a +3 relentless cell in there. For the gloves, we're going with Malkarion's Grip. This has +3 Predator on it, and we're putting another +3 impulse cell in there. And then for the boots, we're going with Chrono Treads. This gives us +3 pulse, and we're going to put a +3 relentless cell in there. Now for the tonic breakdown, we're going with Blitz, Frenzy, and Ether Drive tonic. The Blitz tonic is going to give us extra attack speed to help speed up those heavy attacks to get the wounds faster. Frenzy tonic to increase the damage, helps get those wounds up faster and helps you stack even more damage than this build already has on it. And the Ether Drive tonic, which is going to decrease the cooldown time of your Lantern, which is going to really help you keep that Skarn's Lantern up for a little extra damage, but mostly the survivability of the shields. And then for the perk breakdown, we've got +6 Catalyst. This is going to give us 60% tonic effectiveness and 60% tonic duration to help boost all those tonics up to help the build work even more efficiently. And we've got +6 Cunning. This is going to give us 10% critical strike chance as well as 30% critical strike damage. The new cell, Impulse, it's going to give us 10% movement speed, which is going to give us also a whole 20% crit damage. How this cell works is it gives you 10% critical strike damage for every 5% movement speed you have, benefiting up to 50% increased movement speed. So baseline, this is giving you 20% critical strike damage. It's also going to give you another 20% from the bonus you get from repeaters if you have repeaters completely maxed out. From what we've seen, it's been rounding up on the 5s, so that 7.5 you get from repeaters is going to effectively be another 10% as far as the math is concerned on this cell. Then we've got +6 Predator. After not taking hostile damage for 15 seconds, you deal 35% bonus damage, but you lose that buff every time you get hit. You've got to wait another 15 seconds of not taking damage for that buff to come back. Then we have +6 Pulse. The 5th hit of your weapon is a guaranteed critical strike, as well as giving you 15% more critical strike damage. And then how we're getting all the movement speed in the build right here is Relentless. The duration of your Ether Rush is increased by 50% and increases the effect of your Ether Rush by 100%. This is going to mean the stamina gain, the movement speed, the attack speed, and the damage you get from Ether Rush is all going to be increased by 100%. This means your movement speed is going to boost all the way up to 30% while you're under the effects of Ether Rush. This is really effective if you're playing in a party with a Warpike user, but it's also effective as a Chainblade user because your heavy attacks can wound. Now, if you're running this build in something like an Escalation, you're going to be wounding relatively quickly and have no real problem there. If you're running it in a hunting ground, say if you're running it at 20 and Blaze works, I would recommend switching out one of the pulse cells. You are going to lose some critical strike damage from that, but if you switch that out to acidic, and it helps you get those wounds out faster to get the buff from Relentless. Now, the thing with this build is it's going to revolve a lot around having that Ether Rush bonus up. If you're familiar with Chain Blades, you know they can wound relatively fast with the heavy attacks, and that's going to be key to this build. Because once you get that Ether Rush up, because of the Relentless cell, you're going to have an extended duration on it, but you're also going to have a lot of increases to stamina, regen, to attack speed, to attack damage, but also to your movement speed, increasing your movement speed by a whole 30%. That in combination with the repeater mastery and with the bonus you get from Impulse itself, that's going to put you up to almost, if not the 50% move speed bonus. From what we've been seeing, it's been rounding up the 2.5 to 5 on the repeater mastery. I could be wrong. They could change that later, but for now, that seems to be how that is working out. Now, one thing I do recommend not doing with this build is jumping into Blazeworks and trying to take out the Shroud in that one. The Bloodshot Shroud in there, because of the damage mitigation that it's going to be causing to Revenant and the damage mitigation it is going to be causing because you're using an Umbral weapon, that is one tough fight with this build. Now, if you're using this anywhere else, just fine, but the damage penalty you're taking because you're using Umbral attacks and Umbral weapons against that Shroud, it's a little bit more effort than I care to put in. That being said, there is some alternative versions of this build in the comment section down below where we'd use stuff like Berserker and the Valkyrian weapon, but you can also switch that around and use the legendary Radiant weapon with the Rezakiri bond. So you've got some options and some flexibility with this build, and I'll have a couple different versions of it in the comment section down below. Most of them are going to be using Shrike's Zill. This is the only one that's going to be using the Scarn Lantern over Shrike's Zill for this purpose, because this is going to give you a little bit more survivability with the Scarn's Lantern, but make you more reliant on the wounds. The whole synergy with all the crit cells in this build actually work out pretty good because of the attack speed on the Chain Blades. Now, between this and the Repeater build, I'm not sure which one's going to have a better clear time, but if you prefer Chain Blades, this is definitely the way to go. If you don't already have the Impulse cell and you want to try out some new builds that work on stuff from other seasons of Gauntlet, I'll have some links to some other videos in the video description of this one. Those builds are still a lot of fun to play and still relevant even with Impulse out now. Impulse is definitely a game-changing cell, but I don't think it's a cell that you necessarily need to play. If you want to get some insanely fast clear times, Impulse is the way to go. If you just want to clear out the content, though, you can run any one of my other Chainblade builds and you should be able to sell through just about any content in the game perfectly fine. Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoy the build too. Let me know in the comment section down below what weapon you'd like to see in the next build video, or if you guys have any questions about Dauntless that you'd like to see me tackle in a video format, maybe going over the Omni cells or something like that. If you guys are looking for an active community of people that play Dauntless, check the video description for the social and Discord links. The Discord is full of people playing Dauntless pretty much all the time, especially on the weekends. We get a lot of people in the hunting parties there, and we're always willing to give you guys a helping hand with anything you guys need help with in Dauntless. If you guys don't have the Impulse cell yet and you need a Chainblade build to get you by until you get it, I will leave a link to another Chainblade build video right here. And like always, guys, I will see you in the next video.